Daniel didn't sleep after watching the footage. The way Noah reached toward the window in his sleep, and the bear's haunting, almost ritualistic behavior, it wasn't something he could explain away. There was no aggression, no roaring, no attempt to break in. Just that same low growl, that tap on the glass, and a toddler's unconscious response like he'd been summoned in a dream. The next morning, Daniel showed Ellie the recording. She watched it in complete silence, her hand pressed to her mouth. When the bear tapped the glass and Noah's hand lifted toward it, Ellie gasped. "He knows it's there." Daniel shook his head, unsure if he was angry, scared, or both. "It's like he's not even awake, like he's answering it." "But why?" Ellie asked. "What does it want from him?" They spent the rest of the morning reviewing previous footage. Daniel had saved 5 nights of recordings from their exterior cameras. What he found chilled him even further. The bear always arrived just before 2:17. It would approach the house slowly, as if following a well-worn path, and pause in the same spot near the window. It never looked around, never sniffed or explored like most wild animals might. It only had eyes for one place, Noah's window. And each night the pattern was the same: sit, stare, growl. On 2 occasions it had stood and tapped the glass. 3 taps, always 3. Not once did it display signs of hostility. The body language wasn't predatory. It wasn't curious or aggressive. Daniel, who had grown up camping and studying wildlife behavior as a hobby, realized what unsettled him most. "It's acting like a guardian," he murmured, or "like it's mourning." Ellie said nothing, but her face turned pale. Over the next 2 days, Noah grew distant. He stopped playing with his toys. He hardly ate. He stopped naming the deer and pine trees. When Ellie asked him questions, he often stared off quietly before responding in whispers. At night, he'd lie curled up under his blanket, wide-eyed, and speak so softly they had to lean in to hear. "She's crying again," he said one night. "Who's crying, sweetheart?" Ellie asked. Noah didn't answer, just rolled to his side, clutching his stuffed bunny. "She wants to come home," he whispered. The tone was too mature for a 3-year-old. Ellie felt a chill crawl up her spine. Later that night, she cried in the kitchen while Daniel reviewed camera angles again, rewinding the moment the bear raised a paw to the glass and growled, soft and aching. Something was wrong, and the silence in their home had grown heavier than words. The breaking point came on a rainy afternoon when Ellie found Noah in the corner of his room, drawing with a red crayon on the wall. "Noah," she said, shocked. "We don't draw on the—" She stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes fell on what he had sketched. It wasn't childish scribbles. It was 2 figures, a tall black shape looming over a smaller one, a window, a tree, and inside the house, what looked like a crib, drawn with careful lines. The scene was unmistakable: the bear and Noah, observing each other across the glass. Noah looked up at her, his eyes glassy. "She misses her little girl." Ellie knelt down, her voice cracking. "Whose little girl, Noah?" "She lost her." That night, Ellie couldn't bear the tension any longer. The next morning, Ellie bundled Noah in a raincoat and drove half a mile down the muddy mountain road to a rundown house tucked under old elms. She'd been told about the woman who lived there, Mrs. Alder, reclusive, strange, but also a woman who had lived in these woods for over 70 years. She needed answers that cameras and journals couldn't provide. Mrs. Alder answered the door slowly, peeking through the chain before opening it. Her eyes were sharp despite her age, and when Ellie explained why she had come, something flickered across the old woman's face. Not surprise, recognition. "You've seen it," Mrs. Alder said simply. Ellie nodded. Mrs. Alder didn't ask more. She invited Ellie in with a solemn wave and made tea that neither of them drank. "There are bears in these woods," she said. "Some regular, some not." "I don't understand," Ellie said, her voice thin. Mrs. Alder reached into a small cabinet and pulled out a leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed with age. She opened to a worn section marked with a faded red ribbon. "It's said that sometimes, when a bear mourns, it doesn't stop." Her voice was slow, deliberate. "They don't grieve like us. Not for a week or a season. If one loses its cub, and the bond was deep, the grief stays. It carves into them. They search, not with rage, with sorrow." Ellie's hand trembled. "You think that's what this is?" Mrs. Alder nodded slowly. "Some bears carry grief. If one mourns, it will seek what was lost. Sometimes it growls not out of anger, but out of pain. Sometimes it remembers places, sounds, even smells." Ellie sat in silence, unsure what terrified her more, that it was true or that it explained so much. Mrs. Alder leaned closer. "But if it's growling at your child's window, then something about your boy reminds it of what it lost." Ellie left shaken to the core. That evening, Daniel dug deeper. He was desperate for anything that could make this make sense. He scoured old digital newspaper archives, local sheriff's reports, and community forums. He searched for anything related to children, bears, or disappearances in their area. Then he found it. A public record from 6 years ago. Missing person, Lily Haynes, age 4, vanished from a hiking trail less than 2 miles from their cabin. The report said the girl was walking with her parents on a marked trail through the woods when she ran ahead. They turned a corner, and she was gone. There were no witnesses, no signs of struggle, only a few scattered belongings found days later: a backpack, a crushed juice box, and a teddy bear. The most haunting detail: the teddy bear had been clawed nearly in half, as if ripped apart by something strong, confused, or grief-stricken. Search parties scoured the forest for weeks. No body was ever found. No trace of the parents either. It was eventually ruled a tragic disappearance, presumed dead. But Daniel knew better. He printed the report and stared at Lily's picture. A small, dark-haired girl with round cheeks and eyes that seemed eerily familiar. He walked into Noah's room and looked at his son, asleep and peaceful for once. The resemblance was subtle, but there. The same window, the same time of night, the same place where a child had once vanished. That night Daniel told Ellie everything he'd found: the report, the girl, the forest, the clawed teddy bear, Mrs. Alder's words. They sat in silence for a long time. Finally Ellie said, "We have to go out there, the trail, behind the house. That's where she disappeared, right?" Daniel hesitated, then nodded. "I'll go in the morning." But he didn't wait. Just after midnight, flashlight in hand, Daniel stepped into the woods. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. He followed the trail past the tree line, turning where the old map showed the path splitting. The deeper he walked, the heavier the air felt. Every crunch of pine needles underfoot made him flinch. Then, about 200 meters from the house, his light caught something in the underbrush. A faded pink strap. He stepped closer, heart hammering. It was a child's backpack, half buried in moss and dirt. Weather-worn, but unmistakably real. The zipper was rusted. The name tag was barely legible, but he could make out a smudged letter. L. Inside were child's items: stickers, a small crayon box with broken crayons, and a miniature hairbrush with a single strand of dark hair still tangled in its bristles. Daniel dropped to his knees, flashlight trembling in his grip. Somewhere behind him, from the direction of the house, he heard it again. A long, low growl.